Be here with you, and I'm so excited today to share with you something I've been thinking a lot about in my work with students as well as with my coaching clients, and that is that we often have an idea of what we think life should look like. And because we think life should look a certain way, we have a lot of shoulds in our life. So we assume that people should act a certain way if they feel a certain way, or that they would do certain things if they felt the way that we think that they feel or that they should feel. So there's a lot of shoulds and woulds that are being thrown around in our lives without us even realizing it. And the first thing I want to tell you is that people do not think the same way that you do, and they do not feel the same way that you do. And what I mean by that is that we have a certain view again of our lives and how we've come to be, and we've created our belief systems based on what worked for us in our families and our cultures and our communities. So when we look at situations, we use the lens of our families, our cultures, our communities from the time we're very young until the age we are now. As we continue to grow older and have experiences that rub up against the values of our cultures, communities, and families, we start questioning them a little bit, and we think, it's not supposed to be that way because this is what my family, my culture, my community told me life was like, told me I should believe, told me I should be doing in these different circumstances. And look, that person over there is not doing that. So they must be bad, or there must be something wrong with them, or they must not feel the way that they should feel or that I want them to feel. The thing is, people's beliefs are formed by wherever they grow up and whoever they grow up with and all of the experiences that they have. And the people they become are based on how they're able to survive in environments when they're younger. So they learn ways of dealing with conflict, of dealing with uncertainty, of dealing with life so that they can be successful. And so these adaptations that we have when we're younger so that we can continue to survive in the world, be happy, whatever, as we grow older, sometimes those adaptations stop working for us. And we're able to see that we need to change what we're doing, how we're thinking, how we're feeling to actually represent where we're at in our lives now. It's a big idea, but what it really comes down to is that we have created this idea in our minds of what our lives should look like, what our daily routines should look like, what our relationships should look like, what our career should look like, based on these outdated ideas from when we were younger, when we were growing up, what we thought would make us happy when we were younger. And then when we get to a certain age and we have the things that we wanted, or we get close to having the things we wanted, we realize, oh my goodness, it's not like I thought it was going to be. I want this instead, or I want this to be different. And that's totally normal. But what I'm finding is in my work, in my own life, that when we get to what we thought was going to be the pinnacle of whatever it is we wanted in our lives, that we want something more, we want something different. And then we think, I should be grateful. I've always wanted this. I have it now and I'm still not happy. What's wrong with me? And nothing's wrong with you. What it actually is that you have reached this new level of existence, of being, of achieving whatever it was you set out to achieve. And now that you've reached it, you want to keep growing, you want to keep expanding, you want to keep evolving, because that's what life is about. And so while you're feeling guilty for where you're at in your life because you've always wanted it and you should really appreciate it, it's normal to want more and to keep striving for more and better. And it doesn't mean you don't appreciate where you're at any moment, because where you're at any moment is exactly where you want to be. But you also want to think about how you can continue to expand and evolve and become the best version of yourself, and to keep working on things to do that, because that's what's going to bring you true happiness. What I see, though, is that a lot of times, and I've done this so many times in my life without even realizing it, is I've thought, well, I should want this in my life. I should be happy. I should lose 10 pounds. I should be doing whatever it is I'm not feeling like doing at the moment, because that's what society has told me. That's what people in positions of power have told me. Whatever it was, but it didn't feel right to me. But because I've had this message put into my brain from whatever experience, family, community, whatever, again, I think I should. And what I want to challenge you to do is when you're thinking I should, ask why. Why should I think that? Why should I believe that? Where did this belief come from? Why am I feeling bad that I have not done this thing that I'm telling myself I should do? Why do I think I should do that? Is it really me saying that? Or is it my pastor, my kids, my husband, my partner, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my teacher from second grade? Who actually told me I should do this and why? And does this still work for me? So maybe you've been doing something for years and years and years because that's what you grew up to believe. A person who is a good mom does these things. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you think, I'm really unhappy. I don't like doing this anymore. I don't like getting up and right away tending to my kids and making breakfast and making sure everything's fine and getting ready for work and then getting them to school and getting to work and feeling exhausted by 8:30 in the morning. That doesn't work for me anymore. So there's that voice that's like, yes, but you should do that because that's what a working mom does. But then maybe there's another voice now that says, well, why? Why do you think you should do that? What are the other options? Where does this voice come from? Where does this belief come from? And then you start getting creative and curious and thinking, there are other possibilities. But because I've been stuck in the should place of I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, you haven't explored the other possibilities that are out there. And I promise there's so many different possibilities once you start looking at why you think you should do something and where that message is really coming from. And even if it was your own message that you claim with all of your heart and all of your soul, but it no longer works for you, that's okay. Because as we grow, we evolve, and the things that worked for us early in our lives no longer are working for us, and they actually hold us back. So that's okay to change your mind. It's okay to have a change of heart. It's okay to have a different opinion. That's fine. That's what happens in life. We're free to do that. One other thing I wanted to mention that I mentioned earlier in this live is that we expect people to feel the way that we feel. They don't. So when I tell somebody I love you, that comes with a whole host of assumptions about what that looks like for me. So I know when I love somebody, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to act in a certain way. I'm going to say I love you a bunch of times to them. It just comes with a whole package of when I say I love you, this is what it means to me. And it's subconscious. So I don't realize that I have those, that package just waiting for somebody when I tell them I love them. The problem comes when I assume that when they tell me they love me, they have the exact same package for me and that they're going to treat me the way that I would treat them because that's how I treat people I love. So often in relationships, we think if this person loves me, they'll do this, this, and this because this is what I do to show somebody I love them. But that is not true. That's what you do. But that doesn't mean that's what the other person does. And so many issues in relationships arise because we assume the other person shows their emotions the same way we do, or feels the same way we do, or reacts the same way we do. Because if they really loved me, they would have done this. And because they didn't do this, it means they don't love me. And that's actually not true. And we cause ourselves a lot of grief and pain and heartache believing that someone would treat us a certain way because they love us, because that's how we would treat them. I've been reading this really great book called Relationship Breakthrough for some work I've been doing with my clients. And they talk about how there's 6 core things people need to feel safe and secure to be happy in a relationship. And each different person has at least 2 of these 6 things that are their major things that drive them in relationships. And if you have those 2 things, you feel satisfied. And then it builds on the top of that to 4 things to 6 things. But everyone has at least 2 core things of these 6 things. So for example, One of them is safety and security. So in a relationship, to feel totally happy, the person needs to feel safe and secure. Another one is, I'll just look it up really quickly while I'm here, uncertainty or variety. So someone else actually might feel more loved by having uncertainty and variety and excitement, and they may need that in their relationships. Another one is significance. So feeling that you're significant in the life of the person that you're in love with, as well as in other areas of your life, and that you derive significance from the things you do in the relationship, and the way your partner treats you makes you feel more significant in the world. Another one is love and connection. And so having that really close, tight-knit relationship with your partner where you're feeling unified and there's warmth and there's passion and togetherness. So these are all different things that people need to feel in relationships to feel happy, but two of those are core things. The other ones that I didn't mention are growth, so being able to grow within the relationship as well as in their own life. They're happy when they're growing. And then the other one is contribution. And so making that, feeling that you're giving to others and making a contribution to others and to the world. So as you can see, these are related, but they're also different. So for me, I know that in my relationships, for me to feel truly happy, I need to feel secure, so comfort and security, and I also need to feel that love and connection. For my husband, he actually needs different things in the relationship. And when I asked him which things he thought I needed, he could tell me right away, which I thought was really interesting because by the way I act and the things I need, he just knows that those things are really important to me. And I could tell what he needed too, and it's so different. But if we had known years ago when we first met that what we actually need in a relationship is very different to feel satisfied, we would have been able to meet those needs so much easier than just trying to figure it out and assuming that because I have this need for safety that he would have that same need, because he doesn't have that need for safety and security like I do. And so when I'm showing him, hey, you're safe with me, you have the security, well, that's great. But that's not what he needs to feel loved by me. That's not his love need. So I think it's really interesting when you take that in relationships and even make it more expansive when you're thinking of friendships and working relationships and just how we interact in the world. We all have different needs and we all have different ways of showing those needs. But when we assume that somebody's going to show us that they're our friends, that they care about us because they're going to do what we would do, that's when we get into trouble. So I could say, well, I really show my friends that I truly care about them by calling them at least once or twice a week and talking on the phone. And so after a while, I'm the one calling, and then I'm thinking, they never call me. What's going on? They must not really value our friendship. Well, that's where I go wrong because I'm thinking they should call me if they value the friendship because that's what I do to show I value the friendship. But in reality, they may not need that to feel valued in a friendship, so they wouldn't see that that's what they need to be doing. So I hope this helps clarify a little bit about the shoulds and the woulds that we put on ourselves, because again, I spend so much time working with people on creating their best lives and on myself creating my best life and my family and my friends and my students. And there's so many shoulds and woulds in our days about if I should be doing this, I would be doing this, and then things would be great. But again, just thinking, when you have the thought about how things should be or what you should be doing, stopping, taking a breath, and asking why. Who says things should be like this? Who says that I would be doing this if I truly cared about the planet? I don't know. Really getting curious and just asking questions. Where is this thought coming from? Because it all comes from the thoughts and your interpretations of the world around you, which are based on your beliefs that you grew up with as a kid. So I'd like to leave you with, please stay curious. That is just such an amazing thing, is stopping when you have these thoughts of the shoulds or the woulds, stopping and saying, where's this coming from? Who says? Why? Where did I get this message? And then I wanted to leave you with a quote that actually my client shared with me this morning. And she said in her work with me for the last month and a half, she has come to realize that the scenarios in her life are the same, The events in her life are the same, but the way she interprets them is very different. And that's where she's finding her happiness. She's realizing it's her thoughts about what's happening in her life, those shoulds, those woulds, all of the things that she carries with her that she thinks she needs to be doing, and what other people should be doing or would be doing if they were doing what she wanted them to do, and what it would mean for her. She's realizing it's all in her mind, and she's the one giving it meaning, and she can choose the meaning she gives it. So try to choose the meaning that makes you happy rather than the meaning that makes you sad, and get curious and think about, where is this thought coming from? Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next